in a peaceful little village tucked between gentle green, hills and sparkling streams, there lived a bright and curious girl named Aliya, whose heart was always full of dreams that shimmered like stars in the night sky. And among all her dreams, the biggest one was to become the greatest artist her village had ever seen. Every morning, Aliya woke to the sound of birds chirping around her window, and she would smile as she imagined painting them, someday in colors even more beautiful than nature itself. She loved colors the way other children loved toys. She collected broken crayons, tiny paint pots, and even colorful leaves and flowers, which she crushed to make her own natural paints. Whenever she walked through the fields, she carried a little wooden board on which she loved to draw whatever she saw: flowers dancing in the breeze, mountains glowing under the morning sun, and the narrow village path that curved like a ribbon through the fields. Sometimes, she would sit under the old banyan tree and draw every wrinkle on the trunk, every petal on a flower, and every little ant marching across the soil, because she believed that even the smallest things deserved to be painted with love. But Aliya's dream was not just to paint. Her dream was to create something special enough to inspire her entire village. Every year, her village celebrated the Grand Lantern Festival, where people from far and wide painted lanterns with messages of hope, courage, joy, and imagination. The artist with the most beautiful lantern would receive a great honor. Their lantern would be carried by the elders to the top of the mountain and lit for the whole valley to see, shining like a star of inspiration in the night sky. Ever since she was little, Aliya had watched the lanterns glow every year, and each time she would whisper quietly, "One day, my lantern will shine up there too." She imagined standing on the mountain, the cool breeze brushing her cheeks, as the flame inside her lantern glowed brightly, telling the world her story through colors and light. Every afternoon, after finishing her chores, Aliya hurried to her secret painting spot near the river, where the water shimmered like liquid glass. It was her favorite place because the reflections on the water changed every moment. Sometimes the sky looked pink, sometimes golden, sometimes purple, and she loved trying to copy those colors. She would dip her fingers into the cold water and pretend it was magic, ink that helped her draw better. She sat on a big flat stone, which she called her dream stone, and practiced painting every day. Even when the wind blew her papers away or when rain smudged her colors, Aliya never grew upset. She believed that every mistake taught her something new, and that every lesson brought her closer to her dream. But Aliya's dream was not easy. Some children teased her for spending so much time painting instead of playing. They said, "Aliya, you will never win the Lantern Festival. Only grown-ups win." Others laughed when they saw her using crushed flower petals as paint. Aliya felt hurt sometimes, but her heart remained strong. Whenever she felt sad, she remembered her grandmother's words. Dreams grow stronger when they face challenges. A dream that is easy to reach is not a dream. It is only a wish. Those words always filled Aliya with courage. She looked at her brushes, her colors, and her drawings, and whispered to herself, "One day my dream will come true." One evening, as she walked along the riverbank, Aliya found something she had never seen before: a fallen bird's feather, glowing in shades of blue and silver. It shimmered as if moonlight lived inside it. She gently picked it up, turning it in her hands, amazed by its beauty. "This is the most magical thing I've ever seen," she whispered. She decided she would use this feather as her special painting tool for the Lantern Festival. She believed the feather had found her for a reason, as if the world itself was encouraging her dream. That night, she placed the feather under her pillow, hoping it would bring her inspiration. The next morning, Aliya woke up early, excitement buzzing inside her like a little bird. It was the first day of preparations for the Lantern Festival. The whole village gathered in the marketplace, where the elders announced the theme of the festival each year. This year's theme was Dreams That Light the World. Aliya's heart leapt. This theme felt like it had been chosen just for her. She ran home as fast as she could, nearly tripping on her own feet, and gathered all her paints, her brushes, her board, and of course the magical feather. She sat by her river stone and closed her eyes, imagining what her lantern should look like. She didn't just want it to be beautiful. She wanted it to tell the story of her dream, a story that would make others feel brave about their own dreams, too. She decided her lantern would show the journey of a little girl, climbing a tall mountain just like her, journey toward her dream. At the bottom of the lantern, she painted a small girl holding a brush in her hand, looking up at a mountain whose peak touched the stars. Along the mountain path, she painted challenges the girl faced, rain clouds of doubt, winds of fear, and stones of mistakes. But she also painted her overcoming them, rain turning into rainbows, winds guiding her forward, and stones becoming stepping stones. At the very top of the mountain, she painted a glowing light, the girl's dream shining like a star. She used the magical feather to paint the light, and every stroke shimmered softly as though it carried hope inside it. As she painted, the wind danced around her. Leaves fluttered, and sunlight filtered through the trees as if nature itself was cheering her on. It took her many days to finish the lantern. Some days she worked until sunset, her fingers covered in colors. Some days she cried because the paint wouldn't look right. But each time she took a deep breath, wiped her tears, and kept going. Her dream was too precious to give up on. She remembered her grandmother's voice softly saying, "Dreams shine brighter when polished with patience." Finally, the day of the festival arrived. The entire village was decorated with colorful ribbons. Music floated through the air, and the smell of sweet treats filled the streets. Lanterns of all shapes and sizes hung everywhere, glowing softly as the sky darkened. Aliya felt nervous as she walked through the crowd carrying her lantern. Her heart thumped loudly in her chest. But she held her lantern tightly and whispered to herself, "Be brave." When she placed her lantern among the others, many villagers stopped to admire it. "Who made this beautiful lantern?" they asked. When they learned it was Aliya, their eyes widened in surprise. Children who once laughed at her stood quietly, staring at the glowing artwork. When the judges walked through the rows of lanterns, they paused for a long time in front of Aliya's lantern. They whispered to each other, studying every stroke, every color, every detail. Aliya stood far away, gripping her grandmother's shawl, afraid to breathe. The moment felt heavy, like the sky was holding its breath too. Then the chief elder raised his hand and announced, "The lantern that will be lit on the mountaintop this year is Aliya's Dream Lantern." For a moment, Aliya stood frozen, not sure if she had heard correctly. Then cheers burst through the crowd, and she felt tears rolling down her cheeks. But they were tears of joy, warm, shining, magical. As the elders carried her lantern up the mountain, Aliya walked behind them, her steps light as air. The wind was cool, the stars bright, and the path glowed as though guiding her. When they reached the peak, the chief elder placed her lantern carefully, and as the flame was lit inside, the lantern shone brighter than any she had ever seen. The painting of the little girl standing at the top of the mountain seemed to come alive, glowing as if real dreams were shining through it. Aliya felt her heart swell with happiness. Her dream had come true, not because she won, but because she stayed brave, patient, and hopeful. That night, as the lantern glowed over the whole valley, children looked up at it and said, "One day I will follow my dream, too." And Aliya realized that her dream had grown bigger than she ever imagined. It had become a light for others, a reminder that even the smallest dream, when held with love and courage, can shine bright enough to light the world.